So what do I mean by dreaming? In my many years as a manager in corporate America, and then as an executive career and life coach, and now as a parent and family coach, I've observed two patterns of behavior that have consistently shown up both in my conversations with my employees and in my work with my clients. First, and to a person, what I found is that people have a lot of clarity about what they don't want. And that tends to be how they define themselves and everything they're up to. And they either don't have clarity about what they do want, or they're too afraid to admit it out loud and have a witness. Consequently, their actions are guided by what they're leaving and rejecting, rather than by a vision they are moving toward. This is very limiting, and it ends in stuck. Two, because I was almost always dealing with someone or group anticipating a major change and transition or feeling stuck, I found there was this tendency to make who they were, where they were, who they'd been with, what they'd been doing wrong in order to make who they were becoming, where they were going, what they were about to do right. How many of you were about to leave like a major venture and pick a fight with your loved ones? That's part of that dynamic. It's a pattern. Yet at the core of their being, they actually didn't want to label who they were with, what they'd done wrong. It didn't feel right. It didn't sit right at the soul level. At the soul level, everything serves. Hence, they became stuck, or their parts began to be resistant to the change. And this is because they were living in the splits, in this need to label things as right or wrong, or as I like to affectionately call it, they were living in the land of either or. Something we do a lot in Western developed society. Through the coaching process, we learned to name the endings, and as a result, honor, grieve, celebrate, and learn from what came before, noting that all of the experiences, all of the lessons learned, beloved memories and relationships, they're all in the backpack still. Nobody gets to take those away from you. They're all there to entertain, to inform, to serve forever. Doing this would free up my clients to truly be in transition, and that made space for them to dream. To crank up what I like to call, it's like, imagine the radio dial right there on your abdomen, and it's your wanter button, and you can crank it up all the way, really, really, really high. It would open them up to what's next. This transition period is murky and uncomfortable. It's also very fertile time, very exciting. This process of dreaming large and living in the land of yes and is not always easy. And it's much easier than living in the land of either or and staying stuck. It's what any person, family, or organization must do if it wants to evolve and progress. And it's what I believe we must do here in order to open ourselves up as a collective to what's next, both for ourselves and for this congregation going forward. Now back to that dream. When I talk about dreaming, I want to be clear that it happens at multiple levels. There are personal and psychological dreams that most of us are familiar with, and Christiana talked about that this summer in her sermon. And then there are the more personal dreams. For example, on a personal level, and in my husband's case, he dreamed of going to college, of graduating with a degree in biology, of going to graduate school and receiving his PhD in molecular biology, and of becoming a respected scientist. He dreamed of conducting meaningful research, teaching, becoming a tenured university professor, and then joining industry to provide leadership and direction in scientific research. He dreamed of having a support and supporting a family through this work and in collaboration with a lifelong partner and lover. In my case, I wanted to do work that interested and challenged me and that used my talents and gifts well, all the while ensuring my financial and personal independence and creating the wealth I thought would give me more options than my mother felt she had. And I dreamt of finding a life partner who, like me, wanted to have a family and raise children together in a value-centric way. Eventually, those dreams and my partnership with Michael led to my ability to leave the corporate workplace to become the anchor parent to our boys. I loved my work, 22 years in corporate America, and it was wonderful, and I loved it. because I had a bigger dream. And then there are the impersonal and symbolic or archetypal dreams. For example, my husband imagines that he is participating in and contributing to the body of work that will help shift cancer from a terminal illness into a chronic or curable disease, whether he gets to bear witness to that outcome or not in his lifetime. I imagine that my work as a family and parent coach and as the co-founder of World Class Parenting, a company dedicated to empowering, teaching, training, coaching, and supporting parents, will contribute to reversing the decline of the family in this country, to positively transform the state of the American family and therefore each of its members. By strengthening the family, which is a microcosm of modern society, we imagine that we will be contributing to stronger and healthier and more vibrant communities nationwide. Communities that have learned to honor the individuals, filled with individuals that have learned to honor the communities. My actions are guided both by my internal compass and personal dreams and the personal knowing, what I know about myself and where I'm strong and where I'm not, and by external factors and my impersonal dreams. It would be easy for me to simply just be mom and stay home and hang out. It would be easy for my partner to go to his little home in the mountains. He's 68. He's done, isn't he? But he has a larger impersonal dream and it compels him. It compels him. Our UU ancestors and founding mothers and fathers had big impersonal dreams. Dreams for which some of them gave up their lives. Dreams that led them to take actions that paved the way for the spiritual alternative that is Unitarian Universalism. I have benefited significantly from their big impersonal dreams, their vision, their sense of purpose and mission, their systems and actions, and I believe we have an opportunity to build on the foundations they created. To step up and carry this vision forward into a world that needs a spiritual center, ritual, worship, and contemplative space, and shared guiding principles that are universal and timeless in nature and that really work to sustain life and affirm it. I am uplifted by the fact that in my own experience, I rarely hear UUs defining themselves anymore by what they are not and by what they don't want anymore, something I used to hear all the time. And I'm uplifted by the observation that while we do not have a creed, a deity, or a cadre of deities, or a specific holy book designed solely to guide our beliefs and actions, we have something even bigger. We have 7 guiding principles that actually matter and really work for anyone. And they really work if we're committed to knowing them and holding ourselves accountable to living in alignment with them. That is when each of us in our own way will experience our faith in action. I believe the guiding principles hold within them the key to a new and sustainable worldview that truly does honor the guidance and wisdom of our forefathers and mothers, and of our recently retired minister, Susan. They teach us how to begin in love. Coupled with a shared, collective, and personal dream, they are powerful, and honoring them will assist us to build our local and global community with soul. So in sum, how do you build a family or community or a work team of any kind? A committee, a choir, with soul. You begin by getting to know yourself and developing self and other respect. You choose to see yourself as a leader, at the very least, in your own life, through this knowing. You learn to sit in the heart of the paradoxes of life and hold the tension long enough to be guided into action by your principles and values, rather than your impulses. You dream big, and you have the courage to articulate those dreams at both an impersonal and personal level, and you hold yourself and others accountable to these without apology or excuse. This community is at a crossroads, and it is faced with the challenge of deciding what it stands for going forward, and to using this awareness in the development of a partnership with a new permanent minister. Do we want this to be a familiar place to come in order to nurture our wide range of personal needs and dreams, or is it a place to come and as a collective join together in study, in action, in contemplation, in ritual, and in service of a shared and moving impersonal dream? Something that we're working toward that we may never experience directly in our own life. Imagine the northwestern community of Tucson without this option. And perhaps it's a little of both, all of the above, the big giant yes and. My challenge to all of us today, myself included, is that we be very careful to strike a balance between what we need as individuals and personally, and what we need as a collective and impersonally. Both are vital to the success of this organization. As you walk away from this service today, please ask yourself over and over again, what is my impersonal dream? What is it that is trying to manifest within and through me, that bigger thing, that bigger calling, that bigger self, and have the courage to name it? As a mother, I know I don't own my children. I gave birth to them, and I have a responsibility to successfully launch them, and more importantly, to raise them as the future leaders of society, at the very least in their own lives. That is not about me. That's about them. And that's part of my legacy. It's one of the greatest gifts of parenting, is that stewardship that we can provide. In the naming of your larger and personal dream, there is hope, and there is movement. Recalling the starfish story, each of you is that man on the beach. Each of you is the beach. Each of you is the little boy. And each of you is the starfish. What is your impersonal dream? And how might it contribute to building and strengthening this UU family at a soul level?